Are you ready to start applying for jobs? Here are my best pieces of advice for you. In this video, I'm going to break down the best ways to start thinking about when it comes to applying for jobs, especially if you have no experience at all, you're trying to just get into it, and how to actually stand out and get hired, hopefully sooner than you think. Now, the first piece of advice that I have for you here is to treat it like work. What I mean by this is to consider, when it comes to job hunting, already kind of set a routine for yourself on how you want to work. So whether you are trying to find a job that is work from home or you're looking for more of an office job, kind of give yourself a schedule of, okay, from 9 o'clock to 12, I'm going to give myself a lunch break. I'm going to start looking for jobs. I'm going to be learning. I'm going to be studying. I'm going to learn a lot of these new skills that I see a lot of people are learning within the same job scope as well. Have a nice setup for yourself so you can get into work mode, whether that's creating an office space in your home or you have a coffee shop that you like to go to be able to do that. Kind of already set your kind of mindset and routine basically on what it would be like once you actually get work. That way you're actually, one, preparing yourself for success because you're already putting in the habits and routine once you get the work, and secondly, it puts you in a different state basically because you are now, this is my work mode, this is me going into work. Even though you work from home, you have a space to be able to do that. So that's what I mean by treat it as you already have work. You're creating a schedule and a routine for yourself as if you already have it. And this is not just about manifestation or anything else, it's more really of just getting your brain into it, of like, this is what it would be like once I have work. Next is to have a problem solver mindset. What I mean by this is, for a lot of jobs, they're hiring because there's a problem that they want to solve that either with you or some other person will be able to solve for them. So that's what I mean by become a problem solver. Is anytime that you're looking at jobs at places you want to apply to, look at possible problems that they may be having and already start coming up with solutions. Again, this is a little bit of practice once you actually have work, because then when you're actually at work, when problems arise, you already have that mindset of looking basically for ways to solve them. But that's one of the ways that you can stand out very quickly and very easily with other places, is that you are able to come up with like, hey, I noticed that, if let's say you're applying to be a social media manager, I noticed that you don't put your logos here and here, or oh, this link is actually broken. So you're actively looking for ways to make things better. You're not looking for problems, but you're looking for ways to make things better. So then when you're applying, when you're doing interviews, when you're talking to people, you are able to level up in that way because you are already kind of putting a little bit of your heart and soul into, hey, I want to work here. This is how it could be better, basically, especially if I am there. Next is try to customize your content. And what I mean by this is customize your resume, your application letter, how you respond to questions based on where you're applying at. Now, what I mean by this is, let's say you're looking at a job ad that says like, hey, hiring for a creative writer. On your resume, change it to your job title as creative writer. On your application letter, make sure you describe yourself as a creative writer. So you're basically just matching the job ad to what you're going to send to them anyway. And I always think about it this way as well, where the job ad is kind of the first message that the employer is sending to you, and you're responding with your content, with your resume, your application letter, and every single interaction that you have with them. So that is what I mean by kind of think of it as you're customizing it just for them. Yes, it takes a little bit of time. Yes, it takes a little bit of effort. But to be honest, if you want to stand out and get hired, you want to be someone who like, oh yeah, I remember they were really creative with how they showed up. And for me, as someone who has employed a lot of people, who has looked at resumes and has had a lot of people go through our own recruitment system, when you stand out, you are memorable. Like, I will have moments where we have a new client and they need this specific person. Because an applicant stood out enough, I'm like, oh, I know exactly the person who will be a match for you. So then we go ahead and get them through the hiring process. So that is why putting a little bit of effort, customizing your resume, your application letter, writing it up as a response to the original job description or job ad can make it worthwhile. Next is use AI. Now, what I mean by this is, one of the ways that you can stand out as well is to learn a lot of the new tools that are coming up, is to start adapting to it already instead of being scared. Just try it out. ChatGPT is free, Gemini is free. So many of these AI apps have a way that you can just use it for free for a little bit and then you have to pay. Do it to the maximum. Like, try to find out, try experiment, find ways to do it. And with AI, when you're applying, you can even grab the whole job description and you can ask it like, hey, based on this job description, write up my application letter. These are my experiences. Or you can even upload your resume into ChatGPT like, hey, this is my resume, this is the job I'm trying to apply for, can you write up the application letter and ways I can improve my resume? So that's kind of just a quick prompt that I just gave you guys right off the bat of how to improve that. But use AI. It is a tool. It is here. So it's better that you adapt to it rather than not using it at all and being trumped by someone who is using AI. Next is track to follow up. And this is one of my favorite pieces of advice that I give to people when they say like, oh, I've applied to, I think 100 jobs now. I'm like, no, you need to have the accurate number so that you can start following up with those people and you can start having data for yourself on what are the ways that you can improve. So what I mean by tracking is track the places you applied for, track the status of it, is if you've sent the application, if you've heard back from them, if you've gone through the skills test, the interviews, the final interviews, then have a little notes section for yourself. And of course, if you're using Notion, you can just put it in the page as well of what was their feedback? What did they think about you? What would be the ways that if you got rejected now, that you can get accepted later on? This, of course, helps as you start kind of developing and learning a little bit more about yourself and about the industry that you want to go into, that the next interview, the next time you have to show up for something, you are a little bit more knowledgeable and you know how to get better. Which brings me to my next piece of advice, which is just asking for feedback. Now, it will suck. It'll be weird, it'll hurt maybe sometimes even to get feedback from people after you got rejected. But to be honest, this is one of the ways that you can keep better and better because you're already basically getting free advice from people on how to do better on your next job application. So when you are finishing up with an interview or you've done a skills test or you've done anything with the company of like, hey, at this point, do you have any piece of advice or feedback for me on how I can do better? Let's say you just did the first interview, you passed it. Again, even if you get a positive response, go ahead and still ask for feedback because again, that's them kind of coaching and training you on how to get better and better every single time. And literally you have nothing to lose. There might be a little bit of ego hurt, but just write it down, put it in your notes, cry about it like I would sometimes, and move on into the next work that you can find and maybe find a better match for yourself. And finally, honestly, the biggest thing that you can do while you're going through applications, while you might have hit basically the limit for the daily amount of applications you can do, is to go ahead and just read and study. Now, I just don't mean just read books. I mean, read more of the job ads, read more of the job descriptions, find content that are like day in my life videos for the job that you want. Because then you start getting familiar with the verbiage, getting familiar with the tools that they use. You can even start experimenting with the tools that they use. And you started studying essentially what it would be like when you have the job anyway, because then that gives you an advantage versus someone who is just mass applying, just sending out anything, not really studying, not really learning. It gives you that slight advantage over them because you have put in the effort. You've put in basically your work hours to be able to get better and better, again, even if you don't have any experience at all. Applying for jobs doesn't have to be a big scary thing. You basically just have to set up the right systems for you to be able to succeed. It could take you 1 month, it could take 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, and yes, it sucks. But keep in mind that those months that you have spent looking for work, you've gotten better and better. You've set up your own routine. You've set up your ways so you can think about things. You've asked for feedback. So the next time that you show up for a job that actually is your dream job, you're better ready for it. Now, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there and comment below what are your best pieces of advice when it comes to applying for jobs, or if you have any questions, I would love to hear them. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to build business from home, which you guys can check out the playlist right here and the latest video right here. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!